Okay, hello everybody. And we're starting the book club today, the first installment. Hey, Texas Lala, Mike's Chaotic. So we're starting the new series, which is the book club. I'll be reading Knockout. So this is a live that you can participate in live, or you can just watch the replay and listen to me read. So hopefully they'll be about half an hour long. Thanks for joining in on the series. And I'll just be reading maybe up to chapter 1 today. So I'll read the cover, which is Knockout: Interviews with Doctors Who Are Curing Cancer and How to Prevent Getting It in the First Place. And the back cover says, "You have cancer. Perhaps the three most terrifying words one can hear. If you or someone you love has been through this ordeal, you understand the cloud of confusion, the loss of control, the fear of death, all the horrors that come with it. Standard treatment offers little hope, even with surgery, chemotherapy, radiation, and harsh aftercare drugs. Is this all modern medicine has to offer? You have options." Knockout. Miss Somers writes with the passion of a prophet. Wall Street Journal. Hey, Happy Mac and everybody. If I don't say hi to you, it's because I'm looking in the book and reading. So we're going to start with I'll read the insert of the front cover. In Knockout, Suzanne Somers interviews doctors who are successfully using the most innovative cancer treatments that build up the body rather than tear it down. Somers herself has stared cancer in the face, and a decade later, she has conquered her fear and has emerged confident with the path she's chosen. Now she shares her personal choices and outlines an array of options from doctors across the country. Effective alternative treatments without chemotherapy, without radiation, sometimes even without surgery. Integrative protocols combining standard treatments with therapies that build up the immune system. Methods for managing cancer, outlining ways to truly live with the disease. Since prevention is the best course, Summers experts provides nutrition, lifestyle, and dietary supplementations options to help protect you from getting the disease in the first place. Whichever path you choose, Knockout is a must-have resource to navigate the life and death world of cancer and increase your odds of survival. After reading stunning testimonials from inspirational survivors using alternative treatments, you'll be left with a feeling of empowerment and something every person who is touched by this disease needs: hope. So I'm going to skip the acknowledgments and the something else at the front. I'm going to go right to the foreword and then to the preface. So the foreword. Suzanne Somers has written a book on cancer treatment and prevention. Suzanne is not a doctor or a scientist. Should you pay attention? Question mark. Absolutely. And here's why. Conventional medicine's approach to cancer prevention and treatment is a debilitating, often deadly fraud. The physicians who perpetuate this fraud must bear some responsibility. But the problem runs much deeper than individual doctors. The underlying issue is that the entire cancer treatment industry has been following a faulty paradigm for close to 100 years. A paradigm is a belief system. For instance, for centuries, it was widely believed that the earth was the center of the universe. This paradigm was so firmly entrenched that it was part of, and parcel of church dogma of the time. When Galileo proved 400 years ago that the earth revolved around the sun, he so threatened the existing order that he was tried by the Inquisition, threatened with torture until he recanted what he knew to be the truth, and spent the remainder of his life under house arrest. That's an example of the power of a paradigm. Wrong though it may be, the paradigm that is the basis for cancer prevention and treatment today is equally wrong. The paradigm of purging the body of cancer cells was initiated back in the late 1800s by William Halsted, MD, who performed the first radical mastectomies on women with breast cancer. There was so There was no significant follow-up with these patients to justify continuation of this procedure. But the presumption that cancerous cells must be cut out of the body was accepted without question. It just made sense. More than a century later, this concept still holds sway, and our primary treatment modalities, surgery, chemotherapy, and radiation, are attempts to purge cancer from the body. This approach does a lot of damage. Think of cancer and its treatment in terms of this analogy. Nations characteristically maintain a standing army to defend themselves against other nations, as well as police forces to protect against nefarious elements within. If pockets of crime crop up in Chicago, Cincinnati, Philadelphia, Los Angeles, or Atlanta, you call in Chicago, Cincinnati, Philadelphia, Los Angeles, or Atlanta, you call in the local police. Conventional cancer therapies, however, is like mobilizing the Army, Air Force, and Marines to invade, clear out, and bomb the enemy. It may get the bad guys, but it does obvious collateral damage, just as chemotherapy, radiation, and extensive surgery do. Toxicity aside, it's clear that this approach doesn't work. Over the past 100 years, the death rate from cancer has hardly budged, and it was soon to be number one cause of death. Yet the trillions of dollars vested in this perpetuation have created a powerful and virulent force against change. Nevertheless, like all failed paradigms in human history, this one is coming to an end, and I expect that knockout will hasten its demise. What paradigm will replace it? It's obvious. All cancer cells, whether they're in the breast, the prostate, pancreas, brain, or other organs, engage in undisciplined rapid cell division. This is the basic defect, and this is where cancer treatment should be focused. You don't need to cut it out or otherwise purge it. All you need to do is stop the cells from dividing, and the cancer will disappear. The human body is capable of doing this. In fact, this is the primary discovery of Dr. Stanislaw Berzinski, who was interviewed in this book. He detected small peptides produced by the liver that control cell multiplication and found that in the absence of sufficient amount of these internal controls, cancer develops. Dr. Brzezinski figured out how to synthesize these control peptides, which are the basis of his breakthrough cancer therapy. These peptides are the antibiotics for cancer cells. They stop cell division and the cancer dies. Suzanne Somers has interviewed other practitioners with unique methods of treating cancer, and their successes are indicative that they too are enhancing the body's control over undisciplined cancer cell multiplication. If you are afflicted with cancer, you will be facing a number of decisions, and it's important that you make up your mind with thought and reason, not fear. Here are some questions you should ask every physician you choose to investigate when it comes to your treatment choices for cancer. First is the therapy itself. Significantly harmful and debilitating? Question mark. This is an important question. Regardless of how a therapy temporarily affects the cancer, if it weakens and debilitates the body, you become more vulnerable both to disease recurrence and to damage done by the therapy. Remember, your goal is not just to survive for 2 or 3 years, but to thrive and prosper. Second, are there indications that the therapy enhances the body's innate healing ability? Does the therapy make your internal protections against cancer stronger or weaker? Obviously, any therapy that weakens the body's ability to fight off other cancers is undesirable, as you may survive one bout only to have to deal with a more virulent disease down the road. Third, and perhaps most important, it is appropriate to seek second opinions from other cancer specialists and from practitioners who use unconventional therapies. If physician's response is aggressive or demeaning toward other approaches, that's a red flag. No doctor should make your decisions for you. It is, after all, your life that's at stake. Physicians who care for their patients and have confidence in their abilities as physicians do not use scare tactics to coerce patients. Knockout is a very helpful book. In it, you'll find guideposts and resources for information that will empower you and to make the best decision possible. This book, the book, also contains a wealth of scientifically based advice on how, through nutritional support, you can reduce the risk of getting cancer and having a recurrence. Of course, there is no one treatment that can guarantee success for everyone. For many, the conventional approach feels right. If you choose this path, the interview with Bill Falloon will provide excellent advice on nutritional support while undergoing chemotherapy and radiation that can dramatically increase your survival prospects. I do, however, believe that cancer can be cured, not improved, but cured. I've seen too many patients recover from serious, even life threatening cancers to mince words. These are people who had been told they had no chance of survival, but their doctors were wrong. Cancer can be cured. I look forward to seeing the day when that is the norm and not the exception. This book, Knockout, is a step in that direction. Through my newsletter, Health and Healing, and my other advocacy activities, I have long been a critic of the old cancer paradigm and an avid supporter of new, more rational approaches put forth by doctors like Dr. Brzezinski. As a warrior in this battle, it is very gratifying to me that someone like Suzanne Somers, with her stature and influence, is joining the fray. Suzanne is a courageous woman for challenging the conventional cancer treatment paradigm. You too will need courage if and when the time comes for you to face the challenge yourself. Good luck to you. Written by Julian Whitaker, MD, founder of Whitaker Wellness Institute Medical Clinic and editor of Health and Healing. Okay, the preface. And hello to anyone who's come in. I'm just reading the book so you guys can just listen. Yes, divide the cancer cells. That's what what the growth rate is. So the doctor is trying to stop it from reproducing and dividing. But let me read the preface and we'll get into it. I'm sure she's going to explain it more in the book. As I finished the final edits to this book, the New York Times featured an in-depth article about the failure of conventional medicine to cure more cancers. According to the New York Times, adjusting for the size and age of the population, cancer death rates dropped only 5% from 1950 to 2005, when other technologies has performed so miserably over the 55-year period. Would you accept a medical therapy that has not improved much since 1950? In contrast, the death rate from heart disease dropped 64% in that time, and for flu and pneumonia, it fell 58%. The New York Times was especially critical of expensive conventional treatments that subject patients to much mutilation and suffering, yet yield survival improvements of only a few months. Clearly, as the Times states, we are not winning the war against cancer. This book is written to show another side of cancer treatment and what you can do now to prevent getting this dreaded disease. As a reader, you must know there are no guarantees. Cancer kills and continues to kill. Yet there are some who beat it. Some beat it with traditional methods and some with alternative methods. No one can tell you what will work for sure. You need to gather as much information as you can and make your own decisions. But there is hope, and this book offers new choices. It is important you know that there are more methods than traditional chemotherapy and radiation available, and these are what this book attempts to bring to you, my faithful readers. Although I have always leaned towards alternative medicine, the testimonials of the cured, quote, in quotations, cured patients made a believer out of me. It is a very brave choice to go against traditional medicine and embrace the alternative route. It's easier to try the traditional route and then, if it fails, go to alternatives. But often it can be too late. My friend Farah would have, she would, correction. My friend Farah, would she have made it if she had gone alternative first? Question mark. There is no way of knowing. When you receive a cancer diagnosis, you're more vulnerable than at any time in your life. I've personally had the experience twice, as you will read in this book, and my only hope for survival was alternatives. But that was my decision, what I thought best for me. I cannot make up your mind for you. I can only offer you these incredible professionals who have chosen to go another way. Some are completely alternative, while some are more integrated, but all are having success, great success. Does anyone survive though? The sad answer is no. Having cancer is a lonely experience. It is the one time in your life that you cannot ask those closest to you, what should I do? It's too heavy a burden to place on another person. This is your life, your decision, and cancer kills. Read this book carefully, see and feel if the information resonates. I know that for myself, after having interviewed all these incredible doctors, scientists, professionals, and patients, my choice overwhelmingly would be to use only alternative treatments, regardless of what kind of cancer I contracted. I am not a doctor or scientist, but merely a passionate layperson, a filler, a messenger a filter, sorry, a messenger. I spoke with so many patients who are living normal, happy, fulfilled lives, and their enthusiasm and great quality of life convinced me that indeed you can have life with cancer. Sorry, you can live with cancer. You can manage cancer. You don't have to be degraded by humiliating treatments and protocols, and in some cases, you can be cured of cancer. It is with great humility I ask you to read these pages and then listen to your heart and choose what is best for you. Writing this book has taken away my fear of cancer. I hope reading it does the same for you. And I'll go to chapter 1 and then I'll end it for this session at chapter 1, which is about, well, 10 pages or so. We'll see how far I get. So, chapter 1, titled A Cancer Story, Mine. November 2008, 4 a.m. I wake up. I can't breathe. I'm choking, being strangled to death. It feels like there are two hands around my neck, squeezing tighter and tighter. My body is covered head to toe with welts and a horrible rash. The itching and burning is unbearable. The rash is in my ears, in my nose, in my vajayjay, on the bottoms of my feet, everywhere, under my arms, my scalp, the back of my neck. Every single inch of my body is covered with welts except my face. I don't know why. I struggle to the telephone and call one of my doctors I trust. I start to tell him what is happening. He stops me. You are in danger. Go to the hospital right now. I knew it. I could feel that my breath was running out. No time to wait for the ambulance. We race to the emergency room. I am gasping, begging for yet one more breath. I am suffocating. I am running out of time. I don't have time to think or to be frightened. I can only concentrate on getting one last breath. I'm dizzy. The world is spinning. Breathing is all I can think about. We arrive. My husband has called the hospital in advance. They are waiting for me. The emergency room workers, nurses, doctors, and other professionals are wonderful people. They have dealt with this before. They are reassuring. Okay, we'll take care of you. As soon as I am in the emergency room, they inject me with Decadron, a powerful steroid. Why can't you breathe? The ER doc seems to be yelling in my ear, but I can't answer. I am unable to get the words out. They inject me with Benadryl for the welts and the rash. Now I'm inside the ER, but I still can't breathe. I can't even sit up. I am bent over trying to find oxygen anywhere. They put me on oxygen and albuterol to get me breathing, and slowly, life returns. I am still grabbing for each breath, and there are spasms in my lungs, like someone is turning a knob that pulls my lungs inside out. But unlike before, the breath is there, labored, but there. We have to do a CAT scan, he says. I already know that there are large amounts of radiation inherent in CAT scans, and it bothers me to think of doing that to my body. This is the first time I have had any pharmaceutical drugs in me in 8 years. I always say I am not anti pharmaceutical, but they should be saved as the last tool in a practitioner's back pocket. My life was just saved by pharmaceuticals. Maybe this is one of those times that radiation is justified to find out what is wrong. Because something is seriously wrong, I am healthy. I don't know anyone who does more for her health than I do on a daily basis. CAT scan? I don't know. I say to the doctor, it seems to me that I've either been poisoned or am having some kind of allergic reaction, serious allergic reaction to something. I mean, doesn't that make sense? The rash, the strangling, the asphyxiation sounds classic, doesn't it? We don't know. A CAT scan will tell us. I really recommend you do this, the doctor says. Next time, you might not be so lucky. You might not get here in time. You were almost out. I know that. I could feel the life going out of me in the car ride over. Okay, I answered meekly. I am concerned and weary. My husband is with me, holding my hand, rubbing them. His face is twisted with fear, concern. Nothing is making sense. A week ago, I was the picture of health. I hosted a beautiful evening at my home with all my wonderful doctors who had participated in my bestseller breakthrough. It was a beautiful, warm evening, and together we all celebrated health and wellness. The stars were out that night in full force, and while the air was filled with the sounds of live musicians playing my soft jazz favorites, the 40 people at the table were enthusiastically conversing with the possibilities of aging without illness, aging with bones, brains, and health intact, dying healthy at a very old age. We were all turned on. We all we had all realized it is attainable, and we were excited to know that we had jumped on the incredible bandwagon in time. This was an amazing group of people. These doctors were the courageous ones who stepped out of Western standard of care box to declare that the present template of medicine is not working. Drugs are not the answer. Drugs and chemicals are degrading the brains of our elders and sneaking up on the unsuspecting young ones. I looked around at this group of healthy looking, vibrant people and was excited to bring them all together. We were all living this new approach to wellness. And before our delicious organic meal was served, everyone pulled out their little bags of supplements. We all got a laugh over that one. It was so exciting to talk about the true health enthusiastically instead of in the hushed tones of a company talk of a loved one in a deceased state. I felt there always seemed to be hopelessness that accompanied so many of today's approaches to health. Even when they worked, there seemed to be an undesired reaction to the body. Somehow you weren't the same person anymore. You became slowed down, aging faster, fragile. Socially, in most groups, I tempered my conversation on the approach to health because those who entrusted their lives to allopathic, quote, standard of care, Western doctors might not want to entertain the idea that they might have made the wrong choice or that their way wasn't the best way. I respected that. Life and health are about choices. There is an old way and the new way, and each of us has to do what makes us most comfortable. I chose the new way, and I have never felt better, happier, more energetic, more hormonally balanced, and more sexually vibrant in my life. So, why am I here in the hospital? What happened? It's surreal being wheeled into the CAT scan room. I'm immediately brought back to my radiation treatment for breast cancer years earlier. I know I wouldn't make the same choice today. The only health problems I've had until today have been related to radiation exposure. But thanks to the incredible doctors I had the privilege of interviewing and knowing, I was able to rectify what had been damaged using nature's tools, as Dr. Jonathan Wright says. I am now dressed in a blue hospital gown, and so far, I've been reinforced by 3 rounds of oxygen and albuterol. I'm starting to feel normal again. Drugs have been my lifesaver this time. This is what they are for. Knowing the toxicity of all chemical drugs, I've already started thinking about the supplement regime and detox treatments I'll have when I get out of here to get all this residue of pharmaceuticals out of me. I'm hopeful that this will be the one and only time I have to resort to Western drugs. We're going to inject you with a harmless dye, says the radiologist. It will make you feel warm and like you have to pee your pants, but the feeling will pass. It won't take long, maybe 15 minutes, so just relax. I've already I'm already on the IV of glucose, so she injects the dye into my IV. I immediately feel the warmth of rather uncomfortable warmth, and then indeed I feel like I will pee right on the table. Click, 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 like something mechanical that's going wonky. Click, click, click. Again and again. I lie there still so they can get their best pictures. Okay, that's it, she says, then pauses. There is something in the radiologist's face, but I can't pinpoint it. It lasts only a nanosecond, but there was definitely something in her face, her tone. Have you had breast cancer? She asked, seemingly concerned. Yes, I answer. Right, she says. I am wheeled back to the ER, and Alan and I wait. I want to get out of here. I want to go home. The door opens, and the doctor and the nurse come in and close the door behind them. The doctor stands and looks at me for a moment and then says, I have brought you with me. Hold on, start over. I have brought her with me for courage because I hate what I have to say. That moment feels frozen still. We have very bad news, he continued. My heart started pounding like it was jumping out of my chest. You have a mass in your lung. It looks like the cancer has metastasized to your liver. We don't know what is wrong with your liver, but it is so enlarged that it is filling your entire abdomen. You have so many tumors in your chest, we can't count them, and they have all masses in them. You have a blood clot and you have pneumonia. So you were going to check so you so we are going to check you into the hospital and start treating the blood clot because that will kill you first. The air has been sucked out of the room. I took my husband's face and I look at my husband's face and see that it is contorted with fear, pain, and confusion. My heart is pounding so hard that for the first time in my life, I say, I, I think you need to give me something to calm me down. I'm afraid I'm going to have a heart attack. Absolutely, the doctor says. My blood pressure is at 191. I'm usually 110 over 80. Pounding, pounding, pounding. Disbelief. I look at Alan. There are no words. We hold hands. His eyes are liquid as are mine. What can we even say? We've just been cold cocked. Surreal again. I am being wheeled upstairs, checked into a hospital room. There is a flurry of activity. IVs being hooked up. I hear my weak voice asking, what are you putting in those IVs? Heparin, a nurse says, a blood thinner for your blood clot. And in the other one, it's Levaquin, an antibiotic for your pneumonia, plus Ativan to calm you down. I'm grateful for the Ativan drugs. Me, the non drug advocate. I've had so many drugs this morning, my head is spinning. What is happening to my life, to our life? Call Bruce, my son, I say to Alan, trying to keep the panic from my voice. He's shooting in Atlanta. Call him on his cell phone. Then I tell him to call Leslie, Stephen, my sister Maureen, and my brother Danny. Both Alan and I are numb. The oncologist comes into the room. He has the bedside manner of a moose. No compassion, no tenderness, no cautious approach. He sits in the chair with his arms folded defensively. You've got cancer. I just looked at the CAT scan, and it's everywhere, he says matter of factly. Everywhere? I asked, stunned. Everywhere? Everywhere, he says. Like he's telling me he's got tickets to the Lakers game. Your lungs, your liver, tumors around your heart. I've never seen so much cancer. He leaves the room, and the sound of the machinery I am hooked up to fills the silence, left by the shock and awe of his death sentence I've just been given. Alan lies down on the little bed with me, and he holds me like he'll never let go. There are no tears for either of us. We are too stunned to cry. Nurses come and go, adjusting the equipment. We just continue to hold each other for what seems like hours. Our embrace is broken by Alan's cell phone. It's Bruce. His voice is cracking. You are the rock of this family. You are what keeps us together. I know, Bruce. I'm going to figure this out. There's a doctor in Italy. I trail off. Bruce's voice is emotional. I can't imagine being in a world without you, Ma. I have never felt so sad. I have never felt so out of control and helpless. I am trying to be convincing. I'm trying to be upbeat, but the words aren't coming out for me. Carolyn, my daughter-in-law, calls. Her mother died of breast cancer when she was 13. Then her surrogate mother, her mother's sister, died of ovarian cancer, and then her stepmother died of ovarian cancer. Now me, this is just too much for her. I can hear it in her voice. I love her. I am her earth mother in spirit and designate for her mother. Bruce is flying home tonight, she says shakily, and we will be at the hospital in the morning. I'll bring you some fresh chicken soup. That is her way. That is how she dealt with her mother's death. She takes charge. She handles things. She knows soup will comfort me. The concern in her voice is palpable. I am trying to make things okay, but they aren't. And we both know it. I don't have any spark in me. I just been hit by an atom bomb. One of my one by my children, one by one my children call. Then the grandchildren telling me they love me. That's when I start to cry. I will never see them grow up. Will they remember me? I love them all so much. My stepdaughter, Leslie, doesn't call. She just gets in her car and drives to the hospital. She walks into the room, takes one look at her father, usually a take charge kind of guy, and sees that he is not able to function. He can't talk. Leslie and I have been through a lot, and we have come out of it unbelievably close. So loving and such great friends. It is a parent daughter friend business partnership that is sacred to me. The oncologist is just leaving the room again as Leslie arrives, and I can tell her mood is anxious but fierce. She dislikes Dr. Oncology immediately. She says, "What an asshole. How does he know you have cancer? How can he be sure? You just had your stem cells banked in August with the NeoStem company. You had to do a complete cancer workup before they would even bank your stem cells. You were clear. Your blood work was perfect. Yes, I think, how can I have cancer?" Then the lung cancer doctor enters the room. Maybe he has better news. But no, he says, I just looked at your CAT scan and you have lung cancer that has metastasized. He is nicer, more thoughtful. I mean, I'm going to think about this, he says. Maybe it's something else, but this sure doesn't look good. I'll be back tomorrow. Leslie takes out pen and paper and is making notes. She will continue to do this the entire week, writing down everything everyone is saying. Thank God, because when you are stunned and on medication, things get foggy. Day one is almost over. The most shocking, devastating day of my life, our life. I know the fact. I know the facts. When you have lung cancer and it has metastasized to your liver, heart, abdomen, and all over your body, you have at most 2 months, maybe only 2 weeks or less. I look at Alan and the sadness is overwhelming. I am in the valley of fear. I have often heard about, and I see my death. As night envelops the room, the nurse comes in and puts something dreamy in my IV, more drugs. But I can't resist. I want to sleep. I want this nightmare to be over. Alan climbs into the little bed under the covers and holds me tight. When I make when I wake the next morning, he is still holding me. He hasn't moved. The idea of leaving him, oh my God, that thought is overwhelming. Day 2. The morning is nurses' blood pressure routines. They've done this 1,000 times before. They can't get involved, not really. It would make their job too difficult. Every patient has a story. Mine is no different. Every day, people are diagnosed with cancer, bad cancer. This is just another case. I hoped in the morning we would wake to find that this is a bad dream, but reality is all around me, all around us. Bruce, Carolyn, and Leslie are sitting vigil at the foot of my bed. The tone is shock and fear coupled with Leslie's fierce insistence that this just can't be. Bruce holds me and cries, tells me he loves me. He holds me in a way that speaks volumes, touches my hand, connecting, showing that life is fleeting and that no day should be wasted. As a teenager, I gave birth to him, and the connection between us has always been profound. Carolyn has me dead in her head. Carolyn has me dead in her head. It is all sense memory for her. Her mother's breast cancer spread to her liver, and she died a month later. Carolyn, hearing that I have cancer in my liver, knows it's inevitable. My stepson, Stephen, calls. He's awkward with emotions. It's because he feels it is so much that he is uncomfortable with expressing it. I know that. I hear it in his voice. The surgeon walks into the room. I just looked at your CAT scan and it's cancer. Again, the same doom. Each time I hear it, my soul accepts the injury. I feel deep, profound grief and disbelief that I am being forced to leave all those I love so soon, so unfinished. It just doesn't feel possible. Doctor oncologist enters. What do you want to do? We could prescribe full body chemo. Excuse me, I say. Even in my drug state, I know this is not the answer for me. Just so you know, I would rather die. I would never take any of your treatments. Dr. Oncologist just shrugs and leaves the room. Asshole, Leslie says. Caroline says, what an arrogant prick. Being an oncologist involves constantly delivering bad news, very bad news. Maybe Dr. Oncologist uses his arrogance to protect himself. Carolyn says, I looked up your symptoms and it could be something called valley fever. You get a rash, you get pneumonia, and it comes from the top 2 layers of soil in the desert of the Southwest. You work in your organic garden all the time and you dig regularly in the ruins in New Mexico. It makes sense. Dr. Lung Cancer comes in. Could it be valley fever? I ask him. Well, he says slowly, it could possibly be, but I doubt it. But let me think about it. Most likely it's not. It really looks like it's cancer. That night, Alan, who still hasn't shaved or showered, again climbs into my little bed with me, and the nurse puts the dreamy stuff into my IV. Alan holds me tight under the covers. The next morning, we are still entangled in each other's arms. Okay, it's going. So I'll go for 5 more minutes and then we'll pick it up where we left off. Um, so that night, Alan, who still hasn't shaved or showered, again climbs into my little bed with me, and the nurse puts the dreamy stuff into my IV. Alan holds me tight under the covers. The next morning, we are still entangled in each other's arms. Carolyn, Bruce, and Leslie are sitting there. Leslie with her notepad and her sleeves rolled up. Carolyn is angry with all the doctors. Idiots, she says. Except the internist. We all like him. He is open. He is managing all the doctors and reporting to me. Dr. Internist says they want you to take Coumadin, a blood thinner, for your blood clot. I don't want to take Coumadin, I tell him. I know that drug. It's got terrible side effects. I'm not going to take it. There is a natural blood thinner called natokinase. I'll take that, but I won't take Coumadin. Doctor internist laughs. Well, you know what you want. Well, you know what you want. I tell him, listen, I haven't taken a drug in 9 years. I'm taking only life-saving drugs for the moment, just until I can figure out what I am going to do. The stress is unbelievable. I feel crazy trying to figure out if I'm going to die soon, trying to avoid unnecessary pharmaceutical drugs, as I'm on so many drugs already at the moment. I realize how easy it is to become pharmaceuticalized. I am now on at least 6 drugs and fighting to resist more. The nurse walks in. I have your blood pressure medications. Since when have I been on blood pressure medications? I ask, feeling upset. Oh, it's been in your IV all along, she says. Who ordered that? I asked incredulously. Your doctor ordered it, she said flatly. No, I don't want blood pressure medicine. My voice is rising. I don't have high blood pressure. I'm upset. I'm very upset. Wouldn't you be? All right, guys. That's the end of the first reading. We will pick up on page 11 of chapter 1. Thanks for joining, and I think Miss Shirley OG will be starting her live shortly. So I will see you over there. Don't forget to hit the thumbs up and like button. Peace.